Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm here to admit that I got sidetracked from my teapots. I made these teapot patterns, 12 of them, in September of 2024, and so far I've only completed 3 of the teapots. Well, I decided it was time to just sit down and make 4 through 12. So that's an additional 9 teapots. So I got the patterns out, took a look at them, and they need to be tested before I can list them on my Etsy shop. Now, this is not a how-to foundation paper piece video. What you see me doing here is I'm going through all of the additional 9 patterns, 4 through 12, and I'm cutting the sections apart. Once I get all the sections apart, then it'll be time for the fun part, which is choosing the fabrics for each teapot. As I go through this quickly, I am cutting out each individual piece for each section, and I'm kind of trying to keep them in order. Now, one thing to remember when you're cutting out fabric for a foundation piece pattern, if the pattern is up, face up, the fabric should be right side down, because what you'll be doing is sewing to the back of your foundation paper piece pattern. Some of the teapot patterns here that you see are easier than others. I would call all of them intermediate difficulty. None of them are very advanced. I would say intermediate, but a couple of them are actually pretty easy because they only have like maybe 3 or 4 sections. Now, I still don't know what I am going to do with these teapot blocks. I was thinking maybe I would make a quilt, but then I was also thinking maybe it would be fun to just sell them individually for people to frame or do something else with. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with these teapots. You can see me writing on the pattern we're looking at here. I found a couple of mistakes, so those will be corrected before I publish the pattern to Etsy. As I get all the sections for one teapot completed, I am stacking those sections up along with the pattern for that particular teapot on the side. I'm just making a stack of teapots 4 through 12. Some of the teapots offer a great opportunity for fussy cutting. This particular teapot I did not fussy cut, but that little center medallion would have been a good opportunity. After I got all the fabric pieces cut out, I did kind of sort out the scraps, and then I restashed the remaining remnants of yardage that I could use as yardage. So I made sure and folded them up carefully and put them away. Now here is that huge stack of teapots number 4 through 12, and they're all stacked up with the sections, and each section has its fabric pieces cut out and ready to stitch. For paper piecing, I have my setup that I like, which is the sewing machine in front of me, a trash can for paper to my right, and I have a small wool pressing mat and my iron to my left. And one important note on your stitch length, make sure and use 1.8 stitch length or less. And as you press, make sure you do not use steam. I am going to skip around on the assembly of these foundation paper pieced teapots. You can see my videos for teapots 1, 2, and 3, where I have gone through the first piece at least slowly, but I do also have a link in my description that is a good beginner foundation paper piecing tutorial. Here is a look at the completed sections, and now these sections will need to eventually be trimmed and then assembled together to finish this particular teapot. But I'm doing this teapot 4 through 12 project as an assembly line, so I am setting these aside for now. I'm going to go ahead and get the sections for each teapot sewn. When I get that done, I'm going to go back through, trim all the sections together, and then stitch the sections together. I did reuse a couple of the background fabrics for these teapots, so I kept those handy. In this case, the background was a polka dot fabric, which I really thought was cute. I used some blues and a pastel purple as well for different background colors. With all the teapots sewn together, it's time to start trimming each individual section. Now, on the patterns that I print out from EQ8, there is a solid stitch line, and then there is a dotted line for the seam allowance. So I am trimming every single section on the dotted line. Now I do retrieve any pieces that are larger than 1 inch of fabric. I retrieve those, I don't throw those away. Even the smaller ones, smaller than 1 inch, can be used for stuffing and things like that. But the bigger ones that are at least 1 inch, I will save those and put those in my scrap stash for a future scrappy project. With all the sections cut out, it is time to start sewing sections together according to my pattern instructions. And again, I'll leave a link in the description for a good how-to beginner foundation paper piece tutorial. That is not what this video is. This is just me finishing up 9 additional teapots and testing my patterns for any mistakes. Now that we have zipped through the assembly of all these quilt blocks and I've gotten my pattern corrections down, let's take a look at all 12 teapots, including the 3 I had already made. Starting with number 1 here and going all the way up to number 12. All of the teapot patterns are designed to finish to 12 inches square, which means they measure about 12.5 inches unfinished. I didn't get block 8 trimmed yet, but it's still super cute. Well, I did want to let you see what these 12 blocks would look like laid out in potentially a 3x4 quilt. They are super cute all together, but I still am not sure. Should I make a quilt? Should I make them individual, maybe wall hanging type pieces? And you can see the second block in the top row. I have planned, since that teapot itself kind of blends in to the background, I've planned to do some decorative stitching to make that teapot shape stand out there. Well, let me know what you think about these teapots. Do you have an idea? What would you do if you had 12 beautiful 12-inch teapot blocks? And if you were making these patterns, would you make all the teapots similar colors, maybe the same background? Would you mix it up like I did, or do a more unified theme? I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.